Hello, seventh graders. It's good to see you guys. We don't have class, and I don't know if we're going to have class again. So I'm making some video lectures for you so that we can still be together and somewhat have class together. We're going to be finishing our unit on the Ten Commandments. We started it with just one class last time, so we'll be going through all of the commandments and I will at least do this first lesson with you. You can do them on your own. They were actually designed. If we were going to meet, I was going to kind of turn you loose like we did last time, and you would work on your own or with a partner. So it's kind of a good coincidence that you're home and by yourself because these lessons are designed to be done by yourself. We'll be doing the first one together so you can kind of get a sense of what you're doing, and then you can definitely ask parents for help, or if you do need my help, I suppose you can email me or text me or whatever, and I can give you some help as far as that's concerned. If you do like these, I can keep making videos for each of the other lessons, so you guys tell me what you want. You will need your catechism. You will also need your Bible. I'm going to cheat. I've got the readings printed out on a piece of paper here, so I'm cheating a little bit. You should not cheat. So we're going to start, and you'll also need the lesson. Yes, the lesson. The lessons are a little shorter. These were designed to be done during Lent when we only had about a half hour of class time. So I imagine this will take you anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to do a lesson. That's kind of what they're designed to be. But we're always going to start out in the catechism. And if you want to do this with me, you can always pause the video. So I'm not actually going to take any time. If you need to find a page, just pause and then play when you're ready. But in the catechism, we're on page 58, right? I usually have you go to question numbers. This time we're on page 58. We're at the first commandment. You shall have no other gods. What does this mean? We should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. Now, I actually do want you to write that in your lesson. You shall have no other gods, right? I do want you to write on your lesson. But then, once you've got the commandment, we're going to be looking at 3 readings from the Bible and how this commandment is used as a curb, as a mirror, or as a guide. And now some of them may be used a couple different ways, and this is really open to interpretation. There are some where a way is more clearly used, but I don't want you to think that there's a correct answer that you should be looking for. If it seems like one or more than one, and last year I think we did have an example where all 3 were really used. So it's I want you to be thinking. That's what I'm interested in. So we are going to look first at Exodus 32. When the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, "Up, make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." So Aaron said to them, "Take off the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people took off the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made a golden calf. And they said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." And they rose up early the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And as soon as he, Moses, came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, Moses' anger burned hot, and he threw the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf that they had made and burned it with fire and ground it to powder and scattered it on the water and made the people of Israel drink it. The next day Moses said to the people, "You have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin." So Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Alas, this people has sinned a great sin. They have made for themselves gods of gold. But now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, please blot me out of your book that you have written." But the Lord said to Moses, "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. But now go, lead the people to the place about which I have spoken to you. Behold, my angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I will visit their sin upon them." All right, we've got a reading here about the people making the golden calves. Maybe you're familiar with that story. The people are waiting for Moses up on the mountain. They get tired of waiting, so they make golden idols and actually worship them. Now, that's a bad thing to do. What we're going to discuss is how the first commandment comes into play here. So we've got our list of 3 to choose from, right? Is this a curb, a mirror, or a guide? Now, in a couple of these, we used kind of car metaphors, right? The curb, think about when you're driving with your parents, the curb is on the edge of the road there and keeps you from going up and over and hitting a pedestrian or a light pole or running into somebody's house, right? The curb keeps you in. So it keeps you in from making bad choices. So the curb is keeping you from making bad choices. It's providing a boundary on what you can do. So this is usually like a "you shall not," right? The way that our commandment is phrased would be a curb, right? "You shall not have other gods. You shall have no other gods before me." The other way that it can be used is as a mirror. Now, think about when you get up in the morning and you're brushing your teeth, you've got the mirror there in front of you, and you can see what you look like, right? Maybe your hair is kind of messed up, or you're checking to see if you've got a bit of goo between your teeth. The mirror shows you how you actually are, right? And just the mirror is very blunt, right? It shows you exactly how you are. And then we've got the guide. Now, the curb keeping you in from going out, is usually phrased negatively. Now, the guide would be phrased positively, like "you should do this certain thing." So if I said, "You should do your lesson," right? You're watching the video, we're doing it together. That would be a guide. I'm not telling you a negative thing that you should avoid. I'm not telling you whether you are doing the lesson. I'm saying this is what you ought to do. So that's usually phrased a positive way, right? You should do something. So in this one here, thinking back to the golden calf, now I think I'm going to give you my opinion. You may see other ways that it's used. Again, there's not really a right answer. We're looking at how this commandment is used. Now, so I see this one being used as a mirror, right? The people have made their choice, and it's not really about telling them what they should do, either negatively or positively. This one is showing them what they did, right? They made the calf. Moses got angry. He threw down the 10 Commandments, and then Moses goes back up to God, right? So this one is, I think, a mirror showing them what they have done. They have sinned against God. They have literally made other gods. So this one is showing them that they have done wrong. Okay. If you have other, it can be multiple things too. So this one is maybe, it could also be kind of curbing, right? Because the people have done this bad thing, and they've kind of jumped the curb here. So there's ways that it can be multiple ones, is what I'm trying to say. Moving on to the next one, Matthew 4, 1 through 11. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. But he answered, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him to the holy city, and set him on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, Again it is written, You shall not put the Lord your God to the test. Again the devil took him to a very high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, All these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, Begone, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him. We've got a different example here, a different part of the Bible. Last time we were far back in the Old Testament. Now we're in the life of Jesus in the New Testament. And we've got Jesus and Satan kind of dialoguing with one another. And in all of these, in the three temptations that Satan lays out, he's really getting Jesus to just quite simply to make Jesus God. Now, Jesus is God, so there's kind of, but I don't want to, the temptation at its root is that Jesus would forsake God the Father's will and kind of do things that he wanted, right? Do things his own way. And I think the clearest one is the third temptation, where Satan says, Jesus, you should worship me. Now that's obviously, right, would have been a bad thing to do. So in this one, we don't really have a mirror. Jesus isn't confronted with the consequences of his choices. And in this one, I think we see kind of the tension between the curb and the guide. Now, I would say that the guide, or the curb, see, I even got him confused. The curb is the strongest one here. Every time Satan is wanting Jesus to jump the curb, to go beyond what God allows, but Jesus is sticking right up to the curb. Jesus is going to the curb. He's telling Satan, this is what's allowed, and I'm not going to go beyond it. So every time Satan wants Jesus to jump the curb, Jesus is sticking to that and staying within the confines of God's law. Right, so I think, now you could say guide would also be in here, because Satan is wanting Jesus to do these things, but Jesus is saying, no, here's how you should do things. So guide, I think, would also be acceptable here. Curb, though, I think is the strongest in this one. We've got our third one. This is the shortest one, so don't worry. Matthew 6:19 through 21. Jesus is speaking. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. We've got Jesus giving commands. I almost said advice, but when Jesus talks, it's a command, it's not advice. We should do the things that Jesus tells us to do. So here, I think this one is most strongly the guide. Jesus is telling us what to do, how to be making positive choices, right? He's not, now there is some curbing, because he says, don't do this. So I think curb also applies here. He's not really doing the mirror. He's not showing us the result of our actions or how we have done this, right? If he said, do not store up treasures on earth, like, don't be worried about making a closet full of clothes, right? That would be kind of a mirror thing where he's showing us an example of our choices. But he doesn't say that. He says to lay up treasures in heaven. So I think the guide is the strongest. In this one, he's telling us how to move forward, how to be making positive choices. But you could also say that the curb, right? Jesus is giving us the curb, not to be laying up treasures on earth, right? If we're concerned about keeping things on earth, then we're jumping the curb. So there is some curbing action in this one, but I think the guide is the strongest. That's the focus of his words is on what we should be doing. So this one would be, I think, guide. Now, you guys should be able to do all of the lessons. I guess I'll wait for you. If you want me to continue making the video lectures, the video classes, I can certainly do that and go through the readings, and you can come through them with me, and I'll give you what I think about them. I do think that this is a good time for you to really spend with your parents, and for you and your parents to be doing these together and really learning together, and for them to be sharing some of their knowledge and experience with you, and for you to be sharing what you've learned in class with them. And I really think that you can help each other. Now, if parent and student, if you want to have me in there and be watching these too, that's fine. We can do them all kind of as a big happy family. Up to you guys. But the lessons are up there. If we do come back and have classes, if school's back in session, then that's great. And we'll figure out something to do. If you've done all these lessons, right, we'll do something new during our time together. So the other thing that I want to mention to you is to be doing your memory work. I know that you have been making progress on that. Some of you faster than others, and that's okay. I understand that memorizing is a skill and can be very difficult. I want you to continue to make progress, right? I'm concerned most of all with you making progress, right? My intention is that you are memorizing things about God and internalizing who God is and what He's done. That's the point of the memory work, is that you're making this faith a part of who you are, and memorizing is a good way to do that. That's my base intention. So I guess I'm not concerned so much with where you stop. I'm concerned with you making progress. Okay, so I do want you to try to be memorizing everything that I have assigned. But I am most interested in you making progress. So regardless of what you've memorized to this point, I want to see more happen. That's what I'm concerned with. So I would be more, here's guide. All right, this is a guide. I would be more unhappy if you did nothing, if you had come far and do nothing now, than someone who is picking up and continuing to make progress, especially in this time where we're apart, right? So I want you to continue to be memorizing these things and making them a part of who you are. That shows me that you're taking this seriously and that it is important to you, that you're spending time and brain power on these things. That's what it tells me when you memorize these things. Okay? If you do have questions or concerns, you can reach out to me on email. You can reach out to me texting or calling either the church office or my cell phone, and we'll go from there. I'll put more of these videos up if you guys like them. Otherwise, you have the tools to do all of the lessons on your own. I think that's it. So hopefully I see you soon. I guess I don't really know, but God's peace be with you.